What is empowerment? Can we measure empowerment? No. Is empowerment something I can put my hand on and pick up? No. Can I explain empowerment? Very difficult. So why am I trying to talk to you about empowerment? Well, one reason is historic, and that is over the last 20 years I've taught between 300 and 700 students a year. And I found that many of these students were disempowered. It's not a good thing to be disempowered. So about 10 years ago, I decided that I would work on empowerment. And how could I do that? Well, one way of working on empowerment is to show young people how empowerment works. I chose to show how I am myself, because I like people. I'm afraid of nobody. I have had the best life anybody could have if I lived 100 million years. So I tried to work out, how do I feel? What are my thoughts? How do I do things? And mostly I've written that down. The need for empowerment is great. We need to create conditions necessary for each and every person to develop their personal resources. We won't do that by criticizing them. We do that best by showing what we are ourselves. We need to acquire these cognitive processes, linguistics, appraisals. How do you do that? You do that by educating yourself, studying, learning, increasing your knowledge. Yes, I know you agree with me. You do that by developing coping strategies for maladaptive expressions. By that I mean, don't get the wrong type of coping strategy. Find a coping strategy that is not only a useful one, but is also you. You have to cope by being you, not somebody else. A long time ago, in the Stone Ages, when I first put on the boxing gloves, I learned a very important lesson. I can't fight like Muhammad Ali. I have to fight like Trevor Archer. See? In the same way, you need coping strategies that are you yourself. You can't take somebody else's strategy. You develop your own. It's very important with sport and exercise. I can't say that enough. How important exercise is for your health, for your well-being, for your happiness, and many other things. You need to be happy, but you have to take away the negative affect. Negative means frightened, anxious, and so on. Fear. You need to take those away first of all. You need to be responsible. An empowered person feels responsible. You have to be humble. You have to be generous. Why should you be generous? Because for everything that I have given anybody in this life, I have received back many times more than I gave anybody in this life. I promise you that. And that's why it's good to be generous, because you will get back much more than you give anybody. That's a rule. You can trust me. Love. Well, love is the most important empowerment there is. Once upon a time, I was a very bad boy. It was a different life. And then I met someone from Dalarna, and this was in a pub in Newcastle upon Tyne, and it was in fact the first time I was allowed back in the pub. For 6 months I was not allowed in the pub because I'd been a bad boy the last time I was in the pub. So this is the first time I'm allowed back in the pub, and I was introduced to Anna Hedblom from Dalarna. That changed my life completely. Love is very important, believe me. When you empower others, you empower yourself. It's the prefrontal cortex that gives us empowerment. The prefrontal cortex has to work in our favor all the time. It has to work to the disadvantage of the limbic system. The prefrontal cortex, planning, abstraction, executive function, controls and directs the desires of the limbic system. The former gives me positive affect, the latter gives me negative affect. My limbic system is telling me to do this, to go enjoy myself. Once upon a time, I enjoyed myself because people would tell me, Trev, go and deal with that guy who's causing trouble. I would do that, but that was very bad for me because that was my limbic system enjoying. See? The prefrontal cortex should be telling me, don't do that. Find some way to fix the situation without doing things like that. Every time I did something like that, I was weakening myself. I was disempowering myself. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. Now I'm older, and I hope a little bit wiser, and I understand that. But it's taken a lot of research, a lot of study, a lot of experiments and all that for me to understand how I was adventuring the health of my own brain. Character demands a well-functioning prefrontal cortex. Temperament gives way to the whims of the limbic system. Here are some characteristics that we can associate with empowerment, others with disempowerment. Self-esteem, intrinsic motivation, character, optimism, and internal locus of control. This is all empowerment. What's internal locus of control? If I give a lecture to 100 students, and afterwards the students say, oh, that was rubbish. All the course evaluations show they didn't like the lecture. Well, I could do this. I could go to the head of the department and I can say, well, look, you know, the stars were very bad today. And the students were really rubbish. They're not capable of understanding me. I mean, I could do that if I wanted to. But that would show that I did not have internal locus of control. That would be external locus of control. Or I could go to the head of the department and say, well, look, I'm sorry, I didn't prepare myself properly. Next time I give this lecture, I'll have much better pictures to show. I'll have it more structured and so on and so forth, you see? Internal locus of control means that whatever happens, I'm responsible. If the shit hits the fan, I'm taking the shit. And I'm cleaning it up. It's very important. I clean it up. And disempowerment, helplessness, hopelessness, anxiety, amotivation means I'm doing this because I have to. I don't care about it at all. I'm just doing it. I have to. Temperament, external locus of control. The mediatory role for disempowerment is negative affect. Exercise. Exercise is a fantastic intervention. It promotes personal development, resilience, restoration from ill health. Exercise is more than self-discipline. It gives effective empowerment. We have to have spirituality, or self-transcendence. We have to accept and understand there are things outside of our control that we are in harmony with. For me, myself, transcendence is Jesus Christ. I was brought up to believe in Jesus Christ. I was brought up to go to church. I don't go to church very often, now and then. And I was brought up that Jesus Christ would be an example to my life. And trying to live my life as Jesus Christ has lived his life has given me a very good life. It's as simple as that. Everybody has their own way of having this spirituality. For me, it was that. What predicts positive affect? Persistence. And what predicted life satisfaction was self-directedness. So these are two expressions of empowerment, okay? Positive affect, life satisfaction. Self-directedness, persistence. We need to be persistent. In this life, we're never going to just keep getting success. And if you keep getting success, it breeds what the Japanese once upon a time called success illness. Success becomes an illness. You lose it. You cannot just keep on having success. That's why we need to take challenges, because challenges make success something that has to be achieved. It's not just a foregone conclusion. See? So success is dangerous. So we have to treat success. We don't learn anything when we are successful. We learn when we fail. That's very important. So when we fail, we should say, "Hello, failure, I love you." And when we are success, we say, "I respect your success, but I don't really trust you." See? Persistence for me is very, very important. And self-directedness is fine. We need to have this constant dialogue with ourselves. Why am I doing this? How am I doing it? What am I doing it for? What am I hoping for? And so on. That's self-directedness. It's a dialogue with myself. I must have it all the time. It's very important. A good time to do it is when you're sitting on the toilet. Then you can have all the self-directedness you want. It's a good opportunity. You're not doing anything else. Empowerment implies an ongoing process of reshaping, reconstruction, renewal, requiring adaptation and development to augment the prevailing resources to deal with evolving challenges, potential threats, and changing environments. So this is also empowerment. You have to move, In the boxing ring, you move with the punches, You're moving all the time moving. Life's a little bit like the boxing ring. Not only because you move with the punches, because in the boxing ring, you learn to take your punishment. You take the punches, you know it's hurting, but you say, "I don't give a shit." See? Move. All the time move. Move, move, move. This empowerment implies prevention blockade of one's development, influence or power, the likelihood of success. It is implemented by lying, cheating, stealing, drug abuse, gambling, war, catastrophe, and violence. There are two spirals of powerlessness and empowerment. My summary from those spirals is: powerlessness means loneliness. Empowerment means comradeship. Powerlessness means suspicion. Empowerment means trust. With powerlessness, you're going to bump into problems all the time. But if you're empowered, you don't see them as problems. If you're empowered, these are great opportunities. They're not what problem? I don't see any problem. Powerlessness means you go around with fear. If you're empowered, you always have courage. Courage is not something which is ever, it's not something, you know, it's sitting right behind you on this shoulder here. Resilience. Resilience is the ability to deal with situations that come up in our lives. The power of one. What's the power of one? Well, the power of one is you. I think your name is Ulf.
Yes.
The power of one is that since the first monkey became a human, till the last human is dead in X number of years, you are the only Ulf that ever existed. And that is your power, because nobody before or after will ever be you. Never. And that is the greatest gift that you were ever given. That only you are existing now. Only you can confront me and look at me. You see? But that power of one brings with it a responsibility. And you have to accept first that you have that power of one. And when you accept that you have that power of one, you accept too that you have a responsibility with that power of one. Responsibility to do the best you can. That's the power of one. This is a number of circles which are characteristics, traits, whatever. And they're all positive. They're all giving empowerment. Each of them is bestowing a certain amount of empowerment. Now, what we need to do is not only to develop these self-fulfillment, self-transcendence, character, resilience, and so on. And down here are some biomarkers. We need not only to develop them so that they become big circles, we need for the circles to join. So right now you see all the circles, you can see all the circles, you can see there, all different circles there. We need to have this so the circle, only one big circle can be seen. Why? Because they're all working together, they're all joined together and overlapping each other. When we can achieve that overlap, then we're in a good way to developing our personal empowerment. In your own home, you will find all the opportunities you need to become empowered. At your place of work, when you get on the tramway, the spårvagnen, anywhere, every single day, the opportunities are there for empowerment. Just have to go and take them. It's all about taking these opportunities. The last, I think, word I have on empowerment is in reference to Republican Rome. In Rome there were two absolute important concepts. One was dignitas and the other was auctoritas. Your dignitas was what your ancestors and what you yourself have developed, like resilience, like character, like strength, like self-esteem, and so on. What have you developed? What have you achieved in your life? So you can be a road sweeper and you can have a huge amount of dignitas. Or you can be the Emperor of Rome and have no dignitas, but have all the auctoritas. It is essential to have the dignitas. For me, auctoritas is of no interest. Once upon a time, I had a lot of auctoritas. It was the worst job I ever had. It only brings out the worst in people, and you have to preserve your dignity. So when you have auctoritas, you're working all the time to preserve your dignitas, because authority, power, will corrupt you. So empowerment is also the understanding that power will corrupt you. Thank you.